Hello everyone and welcome. It's Shanna. I'm going to use this Easy Wonder die 2 again from yesterday's videos, and I've got the scrap pieces that were left over. And for this today, I'm going to create my own sketch. I used the 4 sketches on the back of the sheet yesterday, these 4 right here, and made my cards. But today I'm just going to make my own. And I'm going to bring in 2 card bases, and we're just going to make 2 cards, and I've kind of got them laid out with what I had in mind here. So I'm just bringing in some really bright green cardstock from my stash that I have cut down to A2 size, and I'm going to get it laid down here as our background panel. And then we will bring in the elements that were left over from yesterday's cards. And as I said on one of my previous videos, sometimes when I do a bunch of extras, I sometimes will just toss them so I don't laying around. But today, since they were laying on my desk, I thought, hey, I'll just create my own sketches and we'll make a couple cards with what I've got left. And so we're going to just try and lay these down and try and make them look like something. Now these 2 pieces here are a little bit longer. They're more for the landscape instead of a portrait size. I guess portrait side of the card. You'd want to put them on the landscape side because they're longer. But that's okay because we're going to lay them down here and then we'll just trim off the edges and it'll be just fine. So I decided to lay the top piece and get my margin on there, and then come and lay my bottom piece and get my margin along the bottom, and then I would just kind of fill in between with the other strips is what I decided to do. So I'll try to get it straight. I'll bring in the T-square and try my best to kind of line it up and get it square, but it'll be close enough, and close enough is good enough for me. And so we'll get this laid down on here. And we're going to have some pretty quick cards using the leftover bits. Now I've got those down and they're kind of positioned how I want them, and now I'll just kind of, evenly space these out and get them laid down, and then this will come together pretty quickly. Just lay it down there and give it a good press so that it gets adhered. And then we're just going to get some glue on our thanks and get it laid down. Now for this thanks, I had lost the inside of the A because it was a teeny tiny bit, and probably when I was cleaning up, I lost it. So I've got a solution for that, and we'll just get it laid down there, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do. A good part of this panel has a lot of white in it. So I thought I'll just bring in my jelly roll pen and we'll just make a nice little line there, and then that'll take care of the middle part of our A, and that worked out just fine. So there we go. So now we just need to snip off those extra long pieces on both sides, and we've got all of our panels laid down on there. Now it has room for some additional embellishment on it. I mean, we could do something else with it, but we're going to go ahead and go on to our second one, and I'm going to lay down the sketch that I had in mind with the pieces on this one. And for this one, I'm going to bring in some kind of watermelon-y pink cardstock. And I thought that one was kind of off, but then I grabbed the other one, and this one was more off than it. And I think I've finally conclude that it's the card base, and I do quite a bit of chopping on it, which is not unusual for me. In the end, it'll all come out just fine. So we'll get this panel laid down on there, and I'm just trying to move it around and get it lined up, and I can see I've got extra on one side, so I'm just trying to get right up to the edge, and then we're going to have to trim it off, and you can see it's not even square, and so I'll make a couple of cuts on it, and then we'll wind up having to do some cuts on the bottom as well. So you can see how uneven that was. So I'm sure it's user error. And here I've got a little bit of white hanging off down there, so I'm just going to trim it off. And I kind of messed it up, and then I'm going to trim it again. And then one more time for the win. Just give it a good press. There we go. Now I think we've got something that we can work with. Now we've got these angled pieces, and I've got 3 of them, and then I've got another thanks. And I'm thinking I'm going to lay them somewhat like that on there. And then I've got my thanks. And my thanks kind of gets lost on that pink. So what I decide to do is, since we've got quite a bit of white on that other, is I'll just bring in a piece of white. We'll cut it down and back it with that, and then it'll help it to pop off of the card base. Not sure what I'm doing right here at the moment, but I'm looking for something, probably my scissors. Okay, so I'm just going to measure it on my glass board, and I know it's at 1 inch by 4, and so I'll bring in my paper trimmer and just cut, I don't know, probably 7/8, and then 3 7/8, and then I'm just going to trim this out and lay it down on there. I'm going to try and put some glue on all those little tiny pieces of the letters so that they'll lay down and they won't snag in the envelope, you know, kind of pull the centers of them up. So we'll just get this laid down on there. Now for this one, I had managed to keep, I moved the middle of the end, so I'm going to line those up a little bit better. But for this one, I did manage to keep that teeny tiny piece to the A. How? I don't know, but it was laying there. And so I'll just grab my wax tool and pick it up and bring it in, and we can lay it down on there. Just trying to get everything lined up. My K's a little moved, so I gotta move it over in my N. And then we're gonna use this for, we're gonna have a couple thank you cards. Now I'm not done. We're gonna add some additional interest to these. I'm gonna go dig through my dies and we'll add some flowers to them. So I feel like that looks funny, so I'm gonna trim again. I just wanna make sure I have a good straight edge. There we go. So now we'll get these laid down on there. We've finally gotten some really, really good weather. We've had kind of a string of sunny days in which the weather's been nice. Today I mentioned yesterday in yesterday's video those Canadian fires, and no sooner than I got that video uploaded and everything, I got another. Basically, it's a alert, an air alert. Air quality alert, and it was saying that those Canadian breezes are blowing that in again, and it gave us instructions on what we should do and not do, and so we're still being affected by that. So I'm hoping they can get that under control for their sake. And here I've forgotten how I was doing it, so I'm flip-flopping, and I'm like, how do I want to do these, and trying to get them lined up. And I just keep flipping them until I eventually get them how I want them. And then we'll just get them glued down on here. Get them spaced out and laid down on there. We're going to have some good spaces between there. But I think it's a good use of the strips and not wasting them. And it makes for an interesting little pattern. So we'll get this last piece laid down. And then off to the side there, I had an oval piece that I had forgot about. And I will observe it, and then I'm like, wait a minute, I think I can use this. Here it is. So that was the other piece I had left. And I thought, well, I could lay it like this and kind of fill in that little gap there just above the thanks. And then when I flipped it over, I thought, ooh, I like the watermelon pattern. Even though the stitch detail would be upside down, I think we could get away with it. So that's what I decided to do. And we're just going to keep this predominantly pink instead of with the green watermelon color there. And we'll get that laid down in that area there where we've kind of got some open space. I'm just going to kind of keep it to the edge. And there we go. Now I'm going to pause for a minute, and I'm going to go find some kind of a die that we could add to this so that we'll have a focal point. And I did zoom in a little bit when I turned the camera back on. So I just took a flower and leaf die that I had in my stash, and created these big bold flowers and leaves and thought I would lay them down on there. And I think they add a nice little addition to the sketches. So I hope you like them. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye now.